No, I imagine. Yeah. Getting through any, like most people who get sick, I mean, I guess I'm a little bit in the same way, but like they just want to, become a bed burrito and just not move and like just allow it to just like go through their system. But you didn't really have a choice. You got out there and you killed it for 5 rounds. And like you said, you took her into deep waters and you broke her. Like you could see that she was broken, whether it be on the stool or obviously in the cage. And so it's not that you walked into it because obviously you're going through your own adversities, but you kind of did make it look easy for anybody who didn't know you were sick that day.
Hey, I will take that. Because we as soon as the fight started and we tied up, like I said, perfect camp. I felt incredibly in shape. Like it was great. And then as soon as we tied up, I just felt like my muscle endurance just was like downhill. And it
Mm,
was like, oh shit, this is gonna be fun.
right.
But I mean, I went through everything I needed to and stuff. And like I said, I'm proud. We're here.
Exactly. Now, I'm not going to ask you what it feels like to be a champion after all this time. Everybody's already done that. So if they want to know that, go look up anywhere else. My question is
Well, I
always,
mean, that's good because I still don't know if I even have the exact
see,
words.
I mean, it's not, that's the thing, it's not going to, so, obviously DC can ask you right afterwards, but not only are you sick, but you just came off a fight. So your adrenaline's still pumped and you're kind of coming down. So you're not going to really have the words anyway. And then,
Correct.
I've heard interviews from you at the end of January, which is right after the fights as well. And not only were you still feeling like crap, but like you said, you still didn't have the words. So, like, it's fully not going to hit you, I think. I mean, who knows? It could not hit you for years. It could not hit you until, you get back
The next,
into fight camp.
yeah,
Yeah. Or whenever. Like it's no one's going to tell you when it's going to hit you, but when it hits you, like you'll probably have just this wealth of emotion just going through you. And I think it's going to be amazing. And I hope that you are either journaling or someone's, documenting how you are doing, you know, pre obviously this past fight and then going into the next one. Cause I imagine at some point, it's just going to hit you like an ocean wave.
yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, it comes in like these little waves. I have little moments. Tisha threw me a champ camp, and when there were some fans and family and friends who showed up, and all the little kids and their excitement, like it hit me a lot then. But I mean, it's still, I mean, it's still not fully kind of soaked in with everything. And like you said, I think once I get back in there and on the grind, but
Mhm.
I'll tell you what, I feel like I need to, because so many people, they just see the athletes, right? They hear about, oh, UFC 297, it is happening this Saturday. And then
Yeah.
they see these fighters come along and, you know, there's a lot of fans out there these days who call themselves fans, but um, I wouldn't exactly consider them that. Oh wow. We have like the most brutal fans these days in this sport. Um, but the ones who sit there and like, sorry, my cat just threw me off. He like dropped my coffee pot somehow.
Oh wow. No, yeah, I've got a
Um,
dog trying to get in the room and but he's a
yeah,
barker
I'm
as
like,
well.
I don't. He completely distracted me. But uh, what was I saying? I don't know. Some like just the fans are wild and stuff and whatnot. But like the cool part is like I feel like I need to write this book because uh the Ultimate Fighter was a really cool experience to where
Right.
it's TV or whatever, and they can kind of portray you however they want.
Hmm.
um but it still gives a little bit insight to who athletes are or what may go on behind the scenes. And when you actually, the MMA community is a really cool community, and if you have the chance to talk to so many different athletes, like we all come from something different, we all have different
Hmm.
struggles. And I just, I love the athletes that have written books and share their story. And I feel like I need to write one. And there it's, whether my story is for everybody or not, like it's going to inspire some people. And I know a ton of people who struggle from a lot of mountains that I've had to climb.
Yes.
And so I think at some point in the next like year or two, that's going to be my next goal, is to write a book and share a story.
There you go. Yeah, just write little stories at a time, I guess, as they come to you, or like, make little notes and be like, oh, I could touch on this, because now, like you said, not only for fans, but, also for your daughter or for other people coming up that, didn't get to see the rise of Raquel Pennington and they're just now maybe becoming a fan of yours and they want to know how everything happened. And like you said, I mean, The Ultimate Fighter is a reality show. Yes, it is, based obviously around the real sport of fighting, but they're going to edit it as much as they want or as little as they want just to kind of help get the ratings up the way they did. And so, they probably didn't tell your entire story. Plus, there was probably a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes that didn't get videoed that, you could obviously touch on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Buds. Now, as much as I want to know, obviously, about the championship, I love hearing about the championship belt and what people do with it. So my question is, where all have you worn it that, like maybe to a grocery store or somewhere that, most people
It's
probably wouldn't have or think about taking a belt.
my new Texas belt buckle.
There you go.
No, so actually I don't know if people know this. Tisha and I, being athletes ourselves, we didn't even know it until the night of. But when you win the world championship, they put the belt around me in the octagon. And
Hmm.
then when I went into the back right before I was getting ready to do the press conferences, wow, I can't even talk. Press conferences, they brought me another belt, which is my actual belt that I could put on display. Um, the material looks completely different, like the stones and stuff like that. It has specifics for, like, the fight card, the details of that.
Hmm.
Because I represented Mexico, it has like the Mexican flag on it,
Hmm.
with my name and stuff. So it's actually really cool. So that one, I'm waiting for the showcase shadow box to come in, and I will hang that on my fireplace here in the house. The other one that they put around my waist, I've taken it to, we traveled to Florida to visit our family. So I've taken it to Florida. I had the champ party, so we had it on display there. I've taken it pretty much like anywhere that I've gone, really, who hasn't gotten to see it, or if I'm going to do guest speakings, events with kids, I let them see it. I actually have a buddy who, he has a nonprofit organization where, he rescues wolf dogs.
Oh, cool.
And so I've gone on some wolf rescue missions, and we actually have one coming up at the end of the month, which should be fun. But anyways, I went out there. I took my entire family out to the sanctuary that he has, so they could meet some of the wolves and the wolf dogs and the wolf pups. And I took it out there, and we took photos and stuff. And so I'm sitting there with some of the wolves and holding my belt. Uh, but I mean, that's pretty much it.
Okay. I'm always curious about, like, I'd always heard Tim Sylvia would like take it to Denny's or forget about it or whatever it is. So I would be the guy that would wear it literally everywhere. I would go out of my way to go to like the post office or the grocery store or anything like that just to be like, oh yeah, me, no big deal, just the champ.
No big deal. Check me out. You like my shiny belt buckle?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have been fighting so long. Do you have a preference when it comes to the old belt or the new belt? Because obviously, like you said, the new belt has all these tiny little details which you can go into and look online. And then the old one was just obviously the classic that, most MMA fans kind of grew up with. Do you have a preference when it came to belts?
I mean, I don't. I feel like my journey is like in this time frame, so this is what I was destined to get.
Nice.
So I'm happy with that. But I will say I do like the old belts.
Yeah.
They just have their own unique style to them.
Hmm.
Each one's different, but I mean, this was the time in my life, and so I'm proud of this one.
There you go. Now, not to get you too emotional here, but you said your Nana has been your biggest motivation throughout your life. I love the picture that you had with her and the belt. Now, showing her that you can and did do it, now that you're a mom, what guidance do you kind of pass down to your daughter that you learned from your Nana?
My Nana is like, she's been the strongest warrior in our family. She's had health issues since she was in her 40s. And, there's been a couple of occasions that we've almost lost her uh, throughout my time growing up. And it's just been really stressful, but she's battled through, and, she's still been there for this entire family. She's the queen of our family. And no matter how she's feeling or what she's going through, like, she never showed like this weakness, or she always had positivity behind it. She always had a different mind frame. And becoming a mom of my own, like, this fight camp was the first one that I went through as a mom. And it's weird because as athletes, we sometimes get caught up in like, oh man, fighting is who we are, or like that's why the highest of highs and the lowest of lows come, because sometimes we forget, and I say we because I've had this conversation with multiple other athletes, but we forget that fighting is just a part of us. It doesn't,
Mhm.
it's not who we are. And in this fight camp with Alea being around, like, I have a completely different purpose in life. So, obviously for myself, I wanted to go out there and win the belt, conquer goals, and do what I needed to for me after all these years of putting myself through this. But it was like win or lose, I'm still winning in life.
Mm,
I still have a different purpose. And then the emotions that come, sometimes it's a roller coaster of emotions, and preparation definitely helps with any negative emotions creeping in. But I mean, you're getting ready to go get in a fist fight, so there's a roller coaster of emotions. And with Alea, like, I would look at her if I started feeling any kind of way, and it's like I didn't have room for any negativity. Like, I'm her greatest teacher, so I'm the one to teach her how to be brave and strong and courageous and go out there and, like, whatever she puts her mind to, she can conquer. So it was completely different, and I feel like in that aspect, like, I learned a lot of that from my nana and from my mom. They're some of the strongest women I know, and it's been interesting because even, all of us being sick after the fight, and Alea got super sick. She ended up in the hospital.
jeez.
It was a super stressful time for him, and with my nana being sick, I was crying to Tisha at one point, and I was like, Alea needs Nana. And she just looked at me and I was like, I actually think I need Nana. Like, I just needed my Nana's, like, strength in that moment, because she just has a different, like, tenderness and nurturing to her. And, like, when that's there, like, everything's going to be okay. So I think for me, like, my biggest focus is also kind of um, relating that to Alea, and to where she knows she's safe and protected, and, like, things are going to be okay.
I love that. That's amazing. Now, I'm curious when it comes to obviously, you have to make weight. Obviously, you're not going to have a big crazy meal afterwards because you still have to fight the next day. After the fights, would you have a tradition when it comes to what an after fight meal looks like when it comes to on the road and then when you come back home? I mean, coming from a large Hispanic family, like you said, I imagine it's something very tasty.
um, yeah, so it's kind of weird because I usually go gluten free and dairy free during fight camps. And so I always crave, and then I don't eat like bacon or anything throughout camp. I eat healthy fats. So usually while I'm still at fight week, I usually have like a stack of pancakes, some bacon, eggs. Like, I just go full blown on this giant breakfast, and a glass of milk and a cup of coffee. Like, and I feel like absolute crap afterwards, but it seems to be my ritual every time. And then when I come home, even though my family's Hispanic, my Nina, um, with my Nino's side of the family, who she married into, he had a great aunt who was from Honduras. And so
Mm,
she learned how to make a meal called paprikash. Um,
what is
it's
that?
delicious. It's like this, like, chicken and dumplings in, like, this kind of red sauce. It's so good. I fell in love with it the first time my Nina ever made it. So that's my tradition when I come home. My Nina has a giant pot for me, and I make myself absolutely sick because I can't just settle on, like, one bowl and control myself. I eat like 10 bowls and then I'm miserable for days on end.
Well, I mean, you're not having to prepare for a fight, so fuck it, right? Like, go for it.
I mean, yeah, correct. But I definitely, like, I think that's the next thing I need to master is some self control after weight cutting, because
Mm.
I go a little bananas.
I mean, I don't have to fight for a living, and so my weight, yeah, I have to do the self control as well. It's always a struggle and it's always a battle. So I think we're all going through it. So I promise you, it's going to be okay.
Perfect. Sounds
Yeah.
good.
Well, so Derek Jeter has the quote of you can't. It's easier to stay in shape than it is to get back into shape after a fight camp and after a fight, obviously. But you've said that you don't want to fight until later this year, which is perfect because I think your next opponent, Julia Pena, is still kind of coming back from an injury, so you have the time. And like you said, you're taking the back seat now, and you're being Mama Bear. What kind of workouts do you tend to do when you're in between fights and still trying to just stay in shape?
I mean, before it was just kind of, I was younger and I would go out, I would live life. I would step away from the gym for long periods of time just to
Mm,
um let my mind recharge. As I've gotten older, I stay in the gym more consistently. It is harder to lose weight, uh, as far as being older and then having my thyroid issue. So I've had to just make a complete lifestyle change. I mean, naturally, I'm not a 135er.